Welcome, Bitcoin fam, to the #1 Bitcoin pod. Bitcoins are ripping like a new Scottie Pippen, looking to reclaim 69,000, now up 4,000 on the day. Not too shabby, considering yesterday we touched the bottom of like 62.5. In today's show, we'll be discussing this. We'll also be sharing strategy yield wrapper lands in Europe as 21 shares list the STRC ETP. Also, Anchorage buys STRC as Wall Street shorts mount against sailors. Bitcoin proxy. Also, Bitcoin ETFs post 258 million of inflows as institutional Q4 selling hits 25,000 BTC. Also, expert forecasts 5 trillion pouring into Bitcoin post the Clarity Act passage. Also, Wall Street call TD Cowen targets 225,000 per coin for Bitcoin by 2027. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much more right here in today's show. Today is pod number 2263. I'm your host, JV, alongside Fed Chair, Nippinator, keeping them nippinating. Bitcoin doing its thing, up almost 4,000 on the day. Currently trading at around 68,300. Not too shabby, as we were in the 63 range just yesterday. So it's nice to see Bitcoin up 6% on the day. Let's see if we can regain 70,000 traction. That'd be nice, and we're not too far away right now. But let's kick it off with our market watch as we do each and every day. You can see Coin 360. We ain't seen forest green across the board in a very long time. And it may be due to the Jane Street manipulation being called out in a recent lawsuit. One of the stories we covered yesterday. They could no longer suppress the market. Looky here. But yeah, you can see Ethereum finally reclaimed 2,000 for the first time in a while, up over 10% on the day. AVAX is up 15%. I mean, these are big gains. Bitcoin doing its thing, up over 6%. Massive gains across the board. Checking out coinmarketcap.com. Let's get a refresh for the latest data. You can see the market cap finally back up 6% on the day, right in alignment with the 6% Bitcoin price gain. Currently at 2.36 trillion total crypto market cap. Bitcoin market cap 1.36 trillion. So it's literally a trillion extra total crypto compared to Bitcoin itself. Checking out top 100. Crypto gainers past 24 hours. Polkadot leading the pack, up 21%. Filecoin up 21%. Uniswap up 19%. Which alts, if any, are you bullish on for the bull or for the bear, however you want to perceive it? Do let me know. But you can see finally almost everything in the green today as liquidity has returned in the markets. Checking out Crypto Greed and Fear Index. We did retouch a 5, which is the local low for the cycle. Levels we ain't seen since the FTX debacle of 2022. But looky here. Today we're back a little bounce with an 11, a divine omen, still an extreme fear. Last month was a 20 extreme fear. Is the bottom in? That's the $1 million question. Holler. Let me know. Checking out blockchain calendar. Today's block height 938,309, and you could exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,458 sats. So pick up the sats, put down the gats, and pick up some Bitcoin caps from my homie Sergio over at BitcoinCaps.net. We're about to hit 69 G's, baby. But let's look at some of the live charts. As you can see, finally some bullish momentum we ain't seen in a long time. On the 1 hour chart, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive green candles, and Satoshi's going wild. Well above the moving averages here, and you know, we've just been descending and trading sideways for a long time. So this is nice. We finally got a breakout. About time. Checking out the 4 hour, similar, 2 big green candles on your display as we're fast approaching 69 G's, baby. Checking out the daily, big green candle. And what's nice about this relief rally has basically reclaimed all the losses from the last 3 days. And, you know, we're just getting started. It's only 1 p.m. here in Puerto Rico, 12 p.m. New York. Shit out to the Surge. And someone, make sure you go summon the Surge, the Chandy, the Oracle, and the rest of the family, the Sweet Biddy. Checking out the weekly, you will notice the candle flipped green from red, which is nice considering we've had so many consecutive red candles on a weekly. And I'm praying, on the monthly, I'm still, a little skeptical that this will flip green because it's still significantly in the red. We still got to gain many thousands of dollars, and we got, 3 days left? With the weekend approaching us. So I think we're going to get another red candle close for the month of February, but I think March is a good prospect where things can turn around after we just experienced the October, November, December, January, February. Care Bear countdown. Fuck you, bears. It just is what it is. But there you go. Next up, let's do a little analysis here. Here's the latest headline. Bitcoin daily gains 5% as analysis eyes the bullish rotation from gold. So is money flowing out of gold right now and into Bitcoin? Let's discuss it. TradingView showed the Biddy price gains hitting 5%. It's now closer to 6% as we're continuing to gain momentum here. Bitcoin appeared unfazed by the announcement from Jameson Greer over the 15% tariffs, which could become reality within coming days. Right now, as we talked about, 10% is in place. There will be a proclamation raising it to 15% where appropriate. Tariff headlines often spark volatility of the crypto market, with their impact nonetheless cooling. Recent months already enjoying respite from sustained selling pressure. Bitcoin approached the key long-term level in the form of the 200-week exponential moving average. Bitcoin price losing the level of support has become a classic bear market indicator. Now, commentator Rec Capital repeated analysis from February suggesting the upcoming weekly close should be above the 200-week EMA, now at 68.3, and the good news, we're above it. Let's frickin' go. Castillo points out, still watching the same weekly structure on Bitcoin. Nice start on the bounce. If it continues to hold as a support level, a good retest potential short could be the 2025 yearly low level of 74.5. Let me know if you agree, disagree with the analysts. Also, Bitcoin teases the relative strength index, RSI bullish divergence versus the gold as gold range at above 5,000 per ounce. The all-time high, I believe, is roughly 57 before the correction. An analyst, Macau Van De Pop, saw reason for the Biddy bulls to stay optimistic. Quoting him here, interesting enough, there's a strong bullish divergence on the daily chart of Bitcoin versus gold. It's not confirmed, but given the recent strength today and yesterday in Bitcoin, I think a slight rotation is a starting. It's about time. You can say that again. Such a turnaround of the capital flows would upend the market opinions from earlier in the year. Analysis concluded Bitcoin had lost its quest to be digital gold. I call bullshit. We already know it's superior to gold in every aspect it can be measured. In fact, one of my favorite quotes, shout out to the high priest Max Kaiser, gold is the poor man's Bitcoin. And you buy an ounce of gold, 5 G's. 1 Bitcoin, digital gold, digital scarcity, going to cost you $6,000 to $8,500. Want to know the massive difference? Bitcoin is perfect money, finite limited supply, can only ever be 21 million in circulation. Gold, they add 1% to 2% of the gold supply every fucking year. They just discover more, and they will continue to always discover more every year. So gold does not have the true scarcity proposition, And obviously, Bitcoin super undervalued right now, and you can get a BOGO, ultimately, a buy one, get one. As the firm mint, October 6th, was the 126.3. Today at 68 G's. What a deal. Take advantage of it, Listening while volunteering to the Murph's Eco Farm. Shout out Murph and to the Eco Farm. Next story of the day, fam. Headline reads, strategy yield wrapper lands in Europe as 21 shares list the STRC. ETP, those looking to seek a yield. That's right, Strategy B. Crypto exchange traded product provider 21 Shares has launched an investment product giving European investors access to preferred stock issued by Sailor Strategy. As you know, the world's largest corporate hodler of the BTC. The asset manager will list this 21 share strategy yield ETP under the ticker STRCNA. Let me know how many of you are in Europe right now. I'm curious. On the Euronext Amsterdam on Thursday. That's tomorrow. The ETP is available to institutional retail investors offering the dividend backed by Strategy's Bitcoin treasury, which holds 717,000 Bitcoin, valued at $47 billion, with dividends set at a variable 11% annualized rate. The ETP represents one of the earlier structured Bitcoin-backed corporate securities available to European investors as of tomorrow. And how many of you have any exposure to STRC here in the States or anywhere else? Do let me know. The 21 shares strategy yield ETP with exposure to Strategy's preferred stock, officially known as Variable Rate Series A Perpetual Stretch Preferred Stock. What a name. Is designed to act as a cash flow bridge between traditional finance and Strategy's Bitcoin treasury. 21 shares said the ETP structure is intended to make the instrument easier to access for the European investors through standard brokerage accounts rather than requiring investors to buy preferred shares directly. I got one of those emergency text alerts, I guess missing child or something. Always got to just look at it, make sure it's no one I recognize. Juana Diaz. I don't know if it's in Spanish. I don't know if that's the person who kidnapped the child or it's the child itself, but it's a silver alert. It's all in Spanish. I don't comprehend it. It just says something 911. So if anyone sees a Juana Diaz, apparently call 911. But with that being shared, by combining high income potential with a familiar exchange traded structure, STRC offers both institutional and retail investors an efficient, accessible way to add yield to the portfolios. The company positioned the launch as its first equity linked product, expanding beyond its traditional lineup of the crypto only ETPs. He added that the move reflects the company's broader mission to provide accessible exposure to digital assets. Quoting him here, since our inception, we have focused on providing straightforward access to digital assets, and with this product, we're extending that expertise into the equity-linked exposure tied to the Bitcoin ecosystem. Now operating since 2018, 21 Shares, one of the larger crypto ETP providers, managing $5.3 billion across 60 ETPs on 13 exchanges. The company continued its global expansion, launching a new ETF in the US on Tuesday, which is the 21 Shares Spot SUI, which was started trading on the NASDAQ. This follows a series of ETP launches by 21 Shares as asset managers continue to broaden the menu of the regulated products tied to the crypto markets for both the institutional and retail investors. And if you don't know, now you know. Next up, Anchorage buys STRC as Wall Street shorts mount against Saylor's Bitcoin proxy. All lies on the biddy. Crypto bank Anchorage Digital says strategy perpetual preferred security STRC on the balance sheet, adding an institutional backer to Saylor's Bitcoin treasury company at a time when Wall Street traders are increasingly betting against it. And also remember, not too long ago, there was JP Morgan allegedly shorting it. You know, I think some of these big players perceive Saylor as the enemy, and they want to tank them. Best of luck to it. Anchorage co-founder Nathan McCauley said the purchase shows alignment between the two companies built around the biddy. Infrastructure and corporate treasury adoption, conviction compounds. Institutions don't just talk about the biddy, they structure around it. They can't short you dorks. When the company that operationalizes the Bitcoin infrastructure puts the capital alongside the company and operationalizes the Bitcoin treasury strategy, it's a signal. But guess what? The only signal with 100% accuracy is known as the Fed chair's nippinator, lickinator indicator. He licks the log, the price explodes. It's the only Bitcoin indicator with 100% accuracy. But according to the strategy site, STRC is a NASDAQ listed perpetual preferred security, marketed as a short duration high yield instrument. The shares pay an 11.25% annual dividend, distributed monthly in cash. But we all know the cash is trash, but it's great for paying the bills. Capital raised through the instrument has historically financed the company's continued Bitcoin accumulation. So strategy becomes Wall Street's most shorted stock. Not surprised. Anchorage purchase comes as strategy climbed the top of the Goldman Sachs list of most shorted large cap U.S. equities by short interest as a percentage of the market cap. A year ago, it did not even rank amongst the top 50. The company began rising on the list late 2025 as its share price weakened, even before the Bitcoin peaking at the all-time high hit in the firmament back October 6, 126.3. Rest is history. Short selling involves borrowers' shares, selling them with the expectation of repurchasing later at a lower price. Losses can increase if the stock rises. Strategy functions as a leveraged public equity proxy for BTC. It issues securities, deploys the proceeds into the biddy. Gains can amplify during the rallies, while the downturns magnify the pressure of the share price. As you know, they're the largest corporate holder, currently 717,722 Bitcoin, worth almost $47 billion at the current price. And they're currently underwater. Do make note of that, but it's unrealized losses. And guess what? You can't lose what you don't sell. And he's not getting liquidated anytime soon. According to the Saylor man himself, Bitcoin would have to go sub 8,000 for them to start offloading the biddies. Also, Monday, it announced another acquisition, close to 600 Bitcoin, marking their 100th purchase of the BTC since adopting it back in 2020. Also, they said the company intends to convert roughly $6 billion in convertible bond debt into equity, replacing repayment obligations with the newly issued shares. And that's why he is the Bitcoin alchemist. And they even put here, Bitcoin would need to fall below 8,000, an 88% drop before its holdings and debt reach parity, which, like I said, I don't think Saylor is concerned, as the FUDsters like to push it, that, you know, he's going to offload all this Bitcoin, crash the market. I'm a little skeptical there. But of course, I think the big dogs in Wall Street would love to do that because they're on the Epstein client list and Saylor's not. Makes sense. everything's starting to make sense all of a sudden. But let's continue knocking this out, yo. Hopefully we can recapture 69. Bitcoin ETFs post 258 million of inflows as institutional Q4 selling hits 25,000 of the B to the T to the C. No diddy. Flows into the US spot Bitcoin ETFs turned positive on a Taco Tuesday as the price of the Biddy made a modest recovery of 65. In fact, we're about to hit 69. Take that, evildoers. Spot Bitcoin ETFs recorded 257 million of flows, marking the largest daily total since early February. The gains are more than offsetting Monday's outflows of 203 million, which is nice, pushing the weekly flows back into positive territory after 5 consecutive weeks of net redemptions totaling 3.8 billion. Despite the rebound, broader market sentiment remained weak, with the analysts estimating about half of the Bitcoin circulating supply was underwater, compounded by reports of the heavy institutional selling in the fourth quarter of 2025. And since the beginning of 2026, total assets under management of the US spot Bitcoin ETFs have fallen 30%, dropping from about 117 billion to 81 billion, and that's why the price action has been bleeding as a result. Fidelity is leading the inflows with BlackRock close behind. That's right, Fidelity. Fidelity-wise Bitcoin Origin Fund led Tuesday's gains with 83 million of inflows. BlackRock's iBit followed closely with 79 million. The cumulative net flows remain above 54 billion after peaking above 62 billion in October, signaling that many investors continue to hodl, be thy name. Institutions sold 25,000 of the BTC in the fourth quarter of 2025. Quoting James Safart from Bloomberg, what did the 13 filers do with the Bitcoin ETFs in quarter four? And what should not be much of a surprise, they were sellers. Advisors and hedge funds were the biggest sellers. Overall, 13 filers sold the ETF shares, equivalent to 25,000 Bitcoin, and that's why we've had a massive correction. Is this all orchestrated and engineered? Probably. Always corruption with these financial arms, if you know what I'm saying. Multiple analysts noted almost 9 million of the Bitcoin, 45% of the coins in circulation are currently underwater, worth less than what the holders paid for. Bitwise's chief officer, Matt Hoogan, said that reflects the Bitcoin ongoing evolution from speculation towards maturity. Bitcoin hit puberty. It's an adolescent. You can't short you, dorks. And you can't jump from 100% to 0% speculation without moving through every stage in between. And if you don't know, you never know. You know, protect your queen, protect your neck, like Inspector Deck warned us in the 90s. Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. Next story of the day, here's some bullishness. Expert forecast $5 trillion pouring into crypto assets post the Clarity Act passage. But the key, post Clarity Act passage, let's get past it, shall we? Although the final passage of the Clarity Act, commonly referred to as the Crypto Market Structure Bill, has been delayed in Congress, experts believe its eventual approval could unleash the Nippinator, an unprecedented wave of capital into the crypto sector. Trillions are on hold. In a recent post on X, the expert known as 360 Trader argued that trillions of dollars in institutional money are awaiting on regulatory certainty before entering digital assets. And according to the assessment, the Clarity Act could act as the trigger that opens Wall Street's doors to crypto in a meaningful way, potentially driving more than $5 trillion into the space, which would be massive considering it's only a 2 trillion market cap today. You know, we go from 2 trillion to 7 trillion. Send it. 360 pointed to the comments from the White House digital asset advisor, Patrick Witt, who stated trillions in institutional capital are effectively sidelined as the firms wait for legal clarity. Large asset managers, including the BlackRock, are often cited as examples of institutions constrained by the current patchwork of the regulatory environment. So if the Clarity Act becomes law, the experts believe the crypto market cap could surge beyond 4 trillion, drawing comparisons to the rally that followed the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF back in 2024. And FYI, we've already had a 4 trillion plus total crypto market cap before this correction. So we've literally shed trillions of dollars during this bear session we've been in this year and fourth quarter of last year. Stablecoins are another key element of the discussion. Under the proposed framework, banks could receive clear authorization to issue the stablecoins. The stablecoin market has already expanded significantly, reaching a reported 300 billion in supply in 2025, processing approximately 33 trillion in transaction volume, figures that exceed the total throughput of the Visa network. The possibility of major banks such as JP Morgan launching fully integrated stablecoins backed by substantial payment activity has also been described as a potential turning point for the sector. The yield component is also drawing attention. Some stablecoins products currently offer returns in the range of 3 to 5%, which the banks do not fucking want. And that's why this act has not passed into law yet. There's some discrepancy there. Some folks are like, we want the yield. And then the forces of evil like, fuck your yield. Keep your money in the bank. 360 traders suggest this disparity could prompt a significant reallocation of capital, potentially as much as $6 trillion from the conventional bank deposits into the crypto-linked instruments. For example, the pension funds, university endowments, retail investors can all gain the broader exposure to the higher yield crypto products. And in parallel, traditional financial institutions may begin integrating decentralized finance infrastructure to enable the faster settlement and more efficient transaction rails. Yet, traditional banking sector has consistently pushed back against the stablecoin yield for reasons I've already pointed out. It basically undermines their whole banking system, their central banking cartel. They don't want to pay you yields. They want you to get virtually 0.001% yield on keeping cash in the bank. And we all know that's the melted ice cube, metaphor a sailor painted for us. Analyst here says, I'm bullish on the clarity unlocking trillions in dormant capital. This could be the catalyst that separates the next bull run from everything we have seen before, which leads me to the question, can that potentially manifest a supply shock, which would manifest a hyper Bitcoinization, a super cycle? Let me know your thoughts on that. Entertain it. I'll read the comments. Now for our final feature story of the day. Wall Street call TD Cowen targeting 225,000 for the BTC by next year, 2027. Let's break her down. TD Cowen reiterating the bullish medium-term path. That's medium term for the BTC, projecting 225,000 per coin by the end of the fiscal 2027, while sketching the upside scenario that would take the asset to around 450 Gs. Now you're speaking my language. The call leans on tokenization and a structural demand driver, but the firm flags that the relationships modeling may not hold if market dynamics evolve differently than expected. In a research note dated Feb 4th, 2026, TD Cowen framed it more aggressive scenario around two interacting assumptions. Number one, the number of tokenized assets increases 100-fold, and the transaction velocity tied to those assets falls by 90%. Under those two conditions, the firm says the analysis suggests a potential 5-fold increase in the price of the BTC to 450,000 per coin. Send it. 450 figures positioned as a bull case illustrator rather than a point forecast. TD Cowen emphasized the current base expectation is lower, writing our current forecast calls for Bitcoin to reach a price of 225,000 per coin. So the 225 is a conservative base case by the end of basically 2027. The firm adds a key caveat about the methodology and uncertainty. While not a bottom-up forecast, our current Bitcoin price estimate reflects a variety of assumptions, one of which is increased tokenization of the real-world assets, potentially including equity securities. Though we believe our assumptions are well supported by trends observed to date, there can be no assurance that these relationships hold going forward. The logic, pretty straightforward. If tokenized real-world assets proliferate on the on-chain velocity associated with those assets slowing sharply, the implied value captured by the underlying settlement asset in TD Cowen's framework rises. The note doesn't present this as a mechanical law, but as a sensitivity to how the tokenization adoption and transactional behavior could reshape demand conditions around the crypto rails. Policy remains the other major moving part in TD Cowen's broader crypto framework. For example, early January, the firm pointed to market-structured legislation, specifically that Clarity Act, which we just touched upon, which could increase the market cap potentially by $5 trillion. TD Cowen wrote at the time, we believe there's room for compromise on all issues in ways that the crypto sector can accept, but it warned that the harder constraint may be political rather than technical. The problem will be the White House at Senate. Democrats will likely insist on ethic rules for elected officials, including the president and his family. The bank's timeline expectation is the Congress acts this year, but not without slippage risk. We expect the Congress will enact legislation into 2026, they wrote. Bitcoin, as you know, has been a hell of a roller coaster ride since hitting the all-time high in October, 126.3, the current firmament, and we corrected all the way down to $59.9 million. Question becomes, is the bottom in, or are we likely to hit lower lows throughout the year before ascending? Up, and away. Let me know your thoughts and I'll read them out loud. Biddy up 4,700 on the day, about to hit 69,000. I love it. I'll stick around for a few minutes. Happy to read the comments. Again, welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the live stream.